Guys, just a quick kind of follow-up from the video from last time about the replacing the dual valve springs. Check this out. I just wanted to get this out real quick in case you guys were going to try this in the near future. I wanted to make sure I showed you this so you also have that information so you don't mess up anything. All right? So I'm replacing the lifters, like I said, mainly due. This one is all cracked. You can see those cracks, and like I said earlier, it was grabbing my fingernail. So you don't want to rock this. So I thought, okay, well, I could just replace one. I started hunting for some for Saturn specific, and they were showing me like lifters for a 350 Chevy and roller lifters for like it was ridiculous. Search engines for all the AI and all the crap that we got going on today, ridiculous on what they come up with. So I did some checking, cross-referencing. If you look it up for I think a 2004 or 2002 Chevy Cavalier, there's some other ones too that you can look it up for. The part number I came up with is for a 2000 and I want to say 2 Chevy Cavalier and I'm sorry, Chevy Cobalt. And so the part number is L2273-4. Now these come in packs of 4. I suspect that's what that 4 is on the end. And it's by a company called Engine Tech. I did some searching online, except for some I forget what it was, but it wasn't anything serious. But it looks like everybody's happy with this brand. So when you look at the original lifter here, and you take one of these Engine Tech ones, it's the exact same lifter. I checked height, width, depth. Everything's the same on these things. Now you see that's just where the valve, the tip of the valve's been riding. So yeah, the oil hole, there's an oil hole here. Same as on the other one. So yeah, I made sure that the groove was as high as on the groove on the old one. I can't really see here. There you go. So I'm going to put these in a container, fill it full of oil. They come pre-lubed in these bags. It's got a little bit of oil. I don't know if they've been already, soaked or whatnot, but I don't want to find out. So the purple you see there is I started to put them in like that, and I'm using Royal Purple engine lube, assembly lube. And so I stopped and said, well, let me make sure these things are, properly juiced up before I start the valve train. So I'm gonna let them soak in oil, and I just wanted to give you guys that option. I got these from Rock Auto, okay, so you know where I got them from. There are a couple other brands. They were $14 for a set of 4. So $3.38 a piece or whatever it was. And they come in 4 to a box. So for your engine, if you want to renew them, it's going to be 4 boxes of that part number, okay, because there's 4 in there. So pretty cheap overall. The box was like 14 bucks. So, well, I messed up. So truth and disclosure here. The other important guide to know when you're doing the camshafts, like I did, take out one spark plug at a time. So the cylinder you're changing the valve on, the springs, or taking the cam off, whatever, leave the spark plugs in the other holes, because that's going to help keep it from turning. Once I put that air in that first one, it turned it enough to where I already knew I couldn't trust. At that point, I was going to try. I was trying to find some way I could peer inside there and see if I could see that bottom crank timing mark, see if it was still on. So when that happened, it shifted this over enough, and then it tensioned up. It tensioned up this tensioner guide. This is your fixed guide. So it tensioned it up and it would not release it, so I could slide it back over far enough so I could get this cam started. This one I got in there, this one I couldn't get it started. So once that extended out, it just really tightened up on that chain to where I couldn't slide that block that way. So two things and it'll work for you. Leave the spark plugs in the other hose from the cylinder that you're pressuring up, so you can change out those valve springs. And so that kind of fights that pressure from moving that crank down there. And the second thing would be to, on those L-shaped brackets I told you about at the first, put those in those two holes. That should be all you need to do. This should have worked out. It did work out for me on that other one. And I don't remember doing the spark plugs and all this stuff, so who knows why it worked then, but it didn't work now. So I've got the timing cover off. Thankfully, the thing's out of the... I've done timing chain covers in the car and out. Obviously, I prefer them out, but those times when I did not want to pull an engine just to do a timing cover reseal, you know, I was stuck. So here we are. I'm going to get this done real quick. This shouldn't take any time. It's just something that is just, you know, I'm anxious to get this thing back on the road, and that means this is just one of those things that is keeping me from getting that done quickly. I'll power in through this and move on, get the oil pan resealed. So thank goodness I didn't reseal the oil pan first, otherwise it'd been a wasted moment. So I'll get that resealed, get everything put together, rebuild the trans as far as doing the diff upgrade, and then get this thing back in. Dang. All right, back on with it. One thing I want to remind you, the idler pulley, this nut here, it should only be torqued to 22 foot-pounds. I say that because that little neck that's molded into this timing cover, if you over tighten this, and it's very easy to do and it doesn't take much, it'll snap that snout right off of there. And then guess what? You're going to need a timing cover. So that's just a little tip, I guess. The rest of these, you know, in stair-step fashion, you're going to go around. Don't forget these two here, torquing them down. This one I think is 89 inch-pounds, and this one's like 22 inch, or 22 foot rather. So yeah, want to make sure you keep in mind about that. But timing marks are on, it's on under there. I already checked it. Obviously, I did the timing, I had the cover off. So yeah, wasn't that bad. I mean, I probably should have done this to begin with. All right, timing cover's on, oil pan's on. This thing's pretty much done. Now, I'm gonna put on the wrinkle coat valve cover once I get it stabbed in there so I don't damage it or scuff it or whatever. But short of that, yeah, it's all ready to go back on now. So next, we're going to do this.